and subscribe.
And now, it's story time.
Human history is pierced with tragic cases of traceless disappearances, which sometimes remain unsolved for decades. Cases involving young people in the prime of their lives, full of hopes and plans for the future, are especially painful. Among such stories, the cases of two students whose fates are separated by almost 2 decades but connected by eerie parallels have gained particular resonance: Sudiksha and Natalie Holloway. March 2025 brought news that shocked not only the American public but also the international community. Sudiksha, a 20-year-old student of Indian origin at the University of Pittsburgh, disappeared during spring break vacation in the Dominican Republic. This story terribly resembled the events of May 2005, when 18-year-old Natalie Holloway went missing on the Caribbean island of Aruba. Both cases share not only a similar scenario of disappearance during a vacation in a tropical paradise but also many other details that make one wonder whether anything has changed in ensuring the safety of young tourists over these years. Sudiksha was a promising bioengineering student at the University of Pittsburgh. Born in India, she moved to the USA to pursue higher education and fulfill her American dream. She was described by professors as a diligent, focused, and gifted student with a bright future. For spring break 2025, Sudiksha decided to vacation with friends in the resort town of Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic, a popular destination for student travel during spring break. It all began on March 3, 2025. Sudiksha and her friends arrived in Punta Cana, staying at a popular resort hotel. Several days passed carefree. The young people enjoyed the sun, ocean, and relaxation after a stressful semester. Nothing foreshadowed the approaching tragedy. On the night of March 5, Sudiksha and a group of other students, including 23-year-old Joshua Ribe from Minnesota, a student at St. Cloud State University, went to the Imagine Punta Cana nightclub. That night, music, dancing, and an atmosphere of carefree vacation lasted until dawn. According to witness testimonies and surveillance cameras, the last known hours of Sudiksha unfolded as follows. March 5, 11 p.m., Sudiksha and a group of students arrived at the Imagine Punta Cana nightclub. Early Thursday, March 6, Kananki was seen on surveillance footage drinking with 5 women and 2 men in the Rio Republica Hotel lobby in Punta Cana, a law enforcement source familiar with the investigation tells CNN. For 17 a.m. Thursday, March 6, Kananki was last seen on surveillance camera with 7 other people entering the beach at the Rio Republica Hotel, police said. Around 4:55 a.m. Thursday, March 6, surveillance cameras captured 5 women and 1 man leaving the beach, 2 sources close to the investigation told CNN. Kananki appears to have stayed behind with a man in his 20s, a man investigators believe was the last person to see her, according to the law enforcement source familiar with the investigation. 8:55 a.m. Thursday, March 6, surveillance video shows the man in his 20s leaving the beach area, 2 sources close to the investigation said. Around 4 p.m. Thursday, March 6, the 5 college friends who traveled with Kananki to the Dominican Republic reported her missing, the Rio hotel chain said in a Spanish-language statement. 5:43 p.m. Thursday, March 6, Kananki's father filed a missing person report with the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, after which the office engaged with the U.S. State Department and federal law enforcement to reach out to the Dominican Republic National Police. The version that Sudiksha went swimming in the ocean in the middle of the night immediately raised suspicions among the girl's parents and friends. According to them, Sudiksha was quite cautious and responsible, well aware of the dangers of night swimming, and would hardly have dared to take such a risky step. Besides, some of her friends claimed that she was not a strong swimmer and always showed certain caution around water. After Sudiksha's disappearance became known, the Dominican police launched a large-scale search operation. The Coast Guard, divers, drones, and volunteers were involved in the search. Beaches, surrounding areas, and coastal waters were thoroughly examined for several days, but no traces of the girl were found. Please subscribe to my channel, and I will bring you more videos featuring the most shocking true crime stories. Given the international nature of the case, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, joined the investigation. Sudiksha's parents, Shiva Chetna Kananki and Bhavani Kananki, immediately flew from India to the Dominican Republic, hoping to find their daughter. The Indian embassy also actively participated in coordinating efforts to find their citizen. The investigation immediately focused on questioning witnesses and analyzing surveillance camera footage. Investigators paid special attention to Joshua Ribe, who became the last person to see Sudiksha alive. On March 7, the Dominican police detained Joshua for questioning. According to official statements, he had the status of a person of interest to the investigation, but was not officially charged with committing a crime. Meanwhile, investigators also analyzed digital evidence, social media messages, email correspondence, and data from Sudiksha's mobile phone. Unfortunately, the girl's mobile phone, which could have provided valuable information, was never found. The last known location of her phone was the territory of the imagined Punta Cana nightclub. Later, information emerged from a private detective hired by the Kananki family that cast doubt on the drowning version. The detective noted that the sea was relatively calm that evening, and the currents were not strong enough to carry the body far from shore. If the girl had indeed drowned, her body would most likely have been washed ashore within a few days. However, no traces of Sudiksha have been found so far. Joshua Ribe, a 23-year-old student from St. Cloud State University in Minnesota, found himself at the center of the investigation as a key witness. During interrogations, he repeatedly stated his version of events. He and Sudiksha left the nightclub together, decided to go to the beach, where the girl spontaneously decided to swim in the ocean, despite the late hour. According to him, he turned away briefly, and when he looked back at the ocean, Sudiksha was no longer visible. However, investigators found certain inconsistencies in his testimony. First, details differed regarding how long he was with Sudiksha on the beach before she decided to enter the water. Second, he could not precisely explain why he did not seek help immediately, but did so only an hour and a half after the girl's disappearance. Investigators also discovered that Joshua and Sudiksha had met only a day before the tragic events, which raised additional questions about why the girl agreed to go to the beach with him in the middle of the night. Sudiksha's friends claimed that such behavior was uncharacteristic for her, especially with someone she barely knew. On March 17, Joshua Ribe was released by the Dominican police due to lack of evidence of his involvement in the girl's disappearance. Upon returning to the United States, he declined further comments to the press, citing advice from his lawyers. According to reports, his family received numerous threats after his name became known to the public in connection with the Kananki case. After almost 10 days of fruitless searches, Sudiksha's parents faced the most difficult decision of their lives. On March 19, 2025, Shiva Chetna and Bhavani Kananki held a press conference, during which they announced that they were asking to officially declare their daughter dead. With deep sadness and a heavy heart, we are forced to accept that our beloved daughter Sudiksha died as a result of a water accident, said the girl's father, barely holding back tears. We have exhausted all possibilities and taken all measures to search for her. It's time to accept reality and focus on preserving the memory of our beautiful daughter. Sudiksha's mother, Bhavani, could not speak during the press conference, repeatedly breaking into sobs. A scene that broke the hearts of millions of people watching the tragedy through the media. We want to bring her spirit home, explained Shiva Chetna Kananki. In our culture, it's important to conduct proper rituals for the soul's rest. We cannot keep her in a suspended state between worlds. The University of Pittsburgh announced the creation of the Sudiksha Kananki Scholarship for bioengineering students to perpetuate the memory of the talented student. Many students and faculty held a memorial ceremony on the university campus, lighting candles and sharing memories of the girl who left life so early. The tragic story of Sudiksha Kananki inevitably drew parallels with another high-profile case, the disappearance of Natalie Holloway, which occurred almost 20 years ago, in May 2005. This case became one of the most famous unsolved criminal stories in the U.S. and changed the approach to the safety of young Americans during foreign trips. Natalie Holloway was an 18-year-old high school graduate from Mountain Brook, Alabama. Like thousands of other American graduates, she went to celebrate her high school graduation on the Caribbean island of Aruba, which is part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Along with 124 classmates and 7 adult chaperones, Natalie arrived in Aruba on May 26, 2005. The girl was last seen alive on the night of May 30, when she was leaving the Carlos and Charlie's nightclub in Aruba's capital, Oranjestad. Video recordings and eyewitness testimonies showed that Natalie was leaving the club in the company of 3 local young men, 17-year-old Joran van der Sloot and brothers Deepak and Satish Kalpo, 21 and 18 years old respectively. When Natalie did not appear the next morning for the return flight to the United States, her classmates and chaperones raised the alarm. Aruba police immediately began an investigation, questioning the 3 young men with whom she was last seen. Joran van der Sloot initially claimed that he and the Kalpo brothers drove Natalie to her Holiday Inn hotel but did not go inside. However, the hotel's security guards and surveillance cameras did not record the girl's return that night. Subsequently, van der Sloot changed his testimony several times, generating increasing suspicion. Over the next 18 years, Joran van der Sloot became the central figure in the Natalie Holloway case. Aruba police detained him and the Kalpo brothers several times but were forced to release them each time due to lack of evidence. During this time, van der Sloot changed his story at least 3 times, telling different versions of what happened to Natalie on that fatal night. In 2010, 5 years after Natalie's disappearance, van der Sloot found himself at the center of a new scandal. He offered Natalie's mother, Beth Holloway, information about the location of her daughter's body in exchange for $250,000. Beth contacted the FBI, which organized an operation to arrest van der Sloot. However, he managed to escape to Peru with the money he received. In Peru, just 5 days after fleeing Aruba, van der Sloot murdered 21-year-old Peruvian student Stephanie Flores Ramirez in a hotel room in Lima. This time the evidence was irrefutable, and in January 2012, he was sentenced to 28 years in prison for Stephanie's murder. Only in October 2023, 18 years after Natalie Holloway's disappearance, van der Sloot finally confessed to her murder. He was temporarily extradited to the United States, where he pleaded guilty to extortion and fraud, and also detailed how he killed Natalie. According to his confession, he attacked Natalie on the beach when she rejected his romantic advances. Joran confessed that he hit her on the head with a stone and then threw her body into the ocean. Natalie fought to the last. Natalie's mother, Beth Holloway, recalled van der Sloot's words at the court hearing. Natalie Holloway's body was never found, despite numerous search operations and investigations that lasted for years. In January 2012, almost 7 years after her disappearance, an Alabama court officially declared Natalie Holloway dead, although her mother long resisted this decision, hoping for a miracle. Comparing the cases of Sudiksha Kananki and Natalie Holloway, it's impossible not to notice the eerie coincidences that make one think about the cyclical nature of tragedies. 1. Young women on vacation. Both victims were young students vacationing at Caribbean resorts. Natalie was 18, Sudiksha was 20. 2. Nightclubs. In both cases, the girls were last seen alive when they were leaving nightclubs in the company of people they had met relatively recently. 3. Disappearance versions. In both cases, the main suspects or witnesses initially claimed they didn't know what happened to the girls, suggesting they might have drowned. 4. Absence of bodies. Neither Natalie's nor Sudiksha's body was found, which complicated the investigation and created space for different versions. 5. International character. Both cases had an international character, requiring cooperation between law enforcement agencies of different countries. 6. Media coverage. Both cases received extensive coverage in international media, drawing the world community's attention to travel safety issues. 7. Death recognition without finding the body. In both cases, the families eventually decided to officially declare their daughters dead, even in the absence of conclusive evidence of their death. Despite the striking parallels, there are significant differences between the two cases, reflecting both the evolution of investigation methods and the uniqueness of each situation. 1. Speed of family decision. Sudiksha's parents decided to declare their daughter dead just 10 days after her disappearance, while in Natalie's case, this process took almost 7 years. 2. Technological progress. The investigation of Sudiksha's case took place in the era of smartphones, social media, and improved surveillance systems, which theoretically should have simplified evidence collection. 3. Nature of key witnesses. In Sudiksha's case, the key witness, Joshua Ribe, was an American student with no prior criminal history, while Joran van der Sloot later turned out to be a serial criminal. 4. Investigation outcome. In Natalie's case, despite the absence of her body, a confession from the killer was eventually obtained, while in Sudiksha's case, the final conclusion remains undetermined. 5. Authorities' reaction. The Dominican Republic, recognizing the importance of tourism for its economy and remembering the lessons of the Holloway case, showed greater activity and openness in the investigation than the Aruba authorities 20 years ago. Both tragic stories became a cruel reminder of the potential dangers young people can face when traveling abroad. Natalie Holloway's mother, Beth, who after her daughter's death dedicated her life to youth safety issues, responded to the news of Sudiksha's disappearance with a call for a full circle of safety for students traveling abroad. When I hear about cases like Sudiksha Kananke's, my heart breaks at the realization that 20 years after my daughter's disappearance, young people continue to face the same dangers, Beth Holloway said in an interview with Fox News. After Sudiksha's disappearance, the FBI issued a special warning for American students planning to spend spring break abroad. The warning emphasized the importance of caution when communicating with strangers, the need to travel in groups, and to avoid consuming alcohol with unfamiliar people. The Natalie Holloway case, despite its tragic outcome, finally received a certain closure when Joran van der Sloot confessed to the murder. This brought at least partial relief to her family, especially her mother Beth, who fought for truth and justice for over 18 years. The tragedy of Sudiksha Kananke, unfortunately, leaves more questions than answers. Did she really drown, as Joshua Ribe claims? Are there grounds to suspect the criminal nature of her disappearance? Will her body ever be found? These questions may remain unanswered forever, intensifying the pain of the Kananke family. Nevertheless, both stories are united by their impact on public consciousness and safety measures. The Natalie Holloway case led to significant changes in safety protocols for American students abroad and raised awareness about potential dangers. The Sudiksha Kananke case once again drew attention to these issues, reminding us that even 2 decades after the tragedy in Aruba, young people still remain vulnerable during travel. In the end, the most important legacy of both girls became a reminder of the value of life and the need for constant vigilance. Their stories made thousands of parents take their children's safety issues more seriously, and young people to think about the potential risks of their actions. Natalie and Sudiksha, separated by time and circumstances but united by a tragic fate, will forever remain symbols of innocence that was so early and unfairly lost in places that should have been paradise corners for relaxation, but instead became the last pages of their short but bright lives.
In addition, YouTube's algorithm prioritizes videos with many likes and subscriptions. So, if you enjoyed this video, please click the like and subscribe buttons to help more people see and know about this content. Thank you for watching and listening.